Thank you, Robin. Hi, everyone. Let me get myself set up here, and I will share my screen. And we can begin. So I appreciate everybody joining in. And Robin, thank you for inviting me to share this little bit of starter knowledge with the group. A little more than 5 years ago, we decided to start our business called Forasoft, and our first call was at Thurston County EDC. The receptionist told us we had a couple paths we could pursue, and the very first one we connected with was the WCWB, and they've been invaluable to us. So it's really nice to give back a little bit and continue the conversations. I want to talk about planning your customer experience and what that means, and how that can improve your bottom line and your overall experience of operating a business. I've got several different screens here with some notes and reminders here. So if you see me glancing around, just expect it a little bit. But let's get on to the fundamentals of a customer experience planning would be like. So this is very much what the relationship looks like. You're going to have your customer in the blue band. The customer experience is wrapped around your products and services. And it's essential to understand these relationships between these three elements, because it provides the experience to your business, from your business to your customers. And this is the exact thing that the customers are going to remember, is not what you sold or the price you sold, but how they felt about it. So in today's business, it's really important for businesses to focus on the experience and evaluate the touch points that they have with each type of customer, and to make sure that the experience is managed. It's not happenstance. So touch points can be anything from the web experience, answering phone calls, mailers, clubs or apps that you have, anything that you've engaged in that's on your personal mobile phone with a specific supplier. That's a touch point, and you can manage that experience to that specific customer's needs. It does take a little research. There's a lot of trial and error, but for the most part, it requires you to get out in front of the issues with your customer and talk to them about it, so you can better understand your customers and what their needs are. And I would encourage you, the last point here is you're always looking to find that wow moment that you can provide them a great experience, something that they'll remember and share with others. So I'm going to provide some statistics here about what the most successful businesses, customer experience focused businesses do. There was a 10-year study that found that businesses that were focused on the customer experience outperformed the broader market by 45 points. That's a huge margin that you can see here. And the ones that didn't focus on customer experience were 76 points behind. So that's a gap of 120 points, which essentially pencils out to be that the businesses that focused on customer experience were 3 times more successful than the businesses that did not focus on customer experience. That's how important it is, and that's the single biggest factor in this measurement. Also, there's some studies out talking about how consumers have changed during the COVID epidemic, and 59% of all consumers care more about the experience than they did before the pandemic. So it's really if it's not being said, it's really a focus of the consumer. They go where they can have those interactions, where they feel valued, where they feel important, where they're recognized, where there's a benefit. And it's our job as business owners to create an experience for each one of those types of consumers and make sure that that's managed throughout. And we can do this. So let's move to the next slide and talk about your competitive advantage. The first step into running a successful business is understanding your competitive advantage. But when you get into customer experience, you really need to focus on that competitive advantage and then build that ecosystem around it. So what are you doing more efficiently? What do you do that's more convenient for your customers? Are you doing things faster or slower? Perhaps either one of those measurements provide better value to the customer. Do you have special skills or knowledge, or are you leveraging a tradition that other competitors don't have? Those are all strengths, and you may have one, you may have many. There may be ones that I didn't mention, but you need to identify your competitive advantage in your business, for marketing, your employees, but also keep in mind that that is an essential component of your customer experience. So where you do it, what you use, and who you do it with are really, really important. So in customer experience, as you would guess, knowing who your customers are is the essential component. And you have different types of customers. Now, you might have a customer that's a retail customer. You might have a commercial customer. You could have customers that come in at different times of the day, and they need to be treated differently. They have different needs, they have different interests, and they want to interact with the business differently. So those businesses that get to know their customers outperform their competitors. So one way to figure this out is to actually create customer personas. And I didn't understand this concept until a few years back, how valuable they could be. So in a moment, I'll show you a couple of slides and how we made those tangible, but just understand that we can group different types of customers into different categories. And then we can provide some measurements and engage with those customers to see what they appreciate about your business, why they're there, why they chose your business, and start to craft this experience for others like them that will come through your door. Now, it's really important to figure out what your customers want. And oftentimes they want to know about your business, your story. And so you, as business owners, we're storytellers. My previous career is as important to my current business as what we're doing in our current business. And it provides depth of knowledge. It's something that customers can relate to, and it really does help them connect with the business that we have. So understand that customers by default have made a choice to be your customer. And it might be because of history or locale or price or availability, but you try your best to understand what it is, why they're there, and what they're trying to get from you as well. Because oftentimes it's not just transactional. They want to know what your brand represents. They want to know your history. They want to know what you believe in. Do you have a cause? Do you support different community activities or something that's even on a broader scale? They're looking for ways to connect emotionally. They're looking for an app, an opportunity to provide a positive review. And you can embrace that and, again, build this into the customer experience, where at certain stages you ask for things or you share additional things that just continue that storyline going. Customers like to align themselves. So the more you can share about your past and your rationale and your reasoning and what you believe in, the more they can make better choices. And that often connects at a deeper level and gives that customer a reason to return. And that's really what it's all about, is you're in business to make money. And it's really important for you to offer more than just the transaction, but to give them that experience that they're looking for. One notable brand that comes to mind in the way they did this is Yeti. And Yeti makes this luxury cooler that's really expensive. Everything about it, the touch, the feel, the way it works is better than the competitors. But they sell more side product, or 100 million more in side product than they do in just the coolers, because their customers want to identify with the brand and what they stand for. So this is just one example, and there's thousands of them out there where if you do it right and you do it singularly focused, you can do really well at it. So just keep that in mind and look for opportunities to tell your story. So what do they want for an experience? Your business is only as good as what they say about you, and we all know that. But a lot of times what I find is when I work with other businesses is that they don't engage with their customer. They don't ask what they like, what they dislike, what they would change, and what they'd like to see more of. And that can really guide you. many, many years ago when espresso carts came out, there was a lady who opened an espresso cart right in a breezeway between two buildings, and she was just selling coffee. Well, then someone said, boy, it'd be great if I could just pick up a muffin here. That would be fantastic. Now, this is back in the late 80s, early 90s when it wasn't so prevalent. But she built a really nice business with multiple locations, just listening to her customers, giving them feedback, making things more convenient. And this is what we're all in business to do, is to really engage with the customer. So ask them what would make their day better and how they would like to purchase the product. And they might just suggest that muffin or that snack that complements your business, fits well, that you can sell more of, maybe at a higher margin, but also make that experience better for your customers. And so just look for ways. Sometimes they don't have to be super creative or very expensive to improve that experience for your customer. Now, this next slide is a little bit of a tangent here, and but I want to explain to you in a real world how we use emotional connection to sell software and to educate the customer. So even if your business is largely transactional, you can use this marketing, consideration, purchase, service, and loyalty approach. If your business is more entrenched with the customer, where there's a lot more dialogue, you spend a little more time around them, you help them make decisions, it's a great opportunity to connect and educate them and build that sense of loyalty. So across the banner at the top, you've got marketing, consideration, purchase, service, and loyalty. And those are the 5 stages that my business is guided by. And whenever we're talking to a customer and they're undecided, that's our first opportunity, is to educate them and make sure that they're making the best decision for themselves with the right amount of knowledge that they need to make that buy decision. When they do buy, which is step number 2, that's when they're admitting that you have something they need. And that's a great event. That's a buy decision by the customer. And the thing that they fall into immediately, and I do this myself, is you fall into buyer's remorse. And that's a great opportunity to step forward and assure the customer, affirm that relationship, and let them know that, you know, Mrs. Jones, Tommy's in the back getting your item. He'll be out in just a moment. Or we're pulling the parts together, we're assembling it get it to you on Tuesday. Whatever that chance to give back and assure that customer that they didn't make the right decision, that you value them, and they know that you are working towards their need, is a great way to pacify any of that buyer's remorse that they have and give them that affirmation that they want. Now, the activate step is still in that purchase phase, and that's when you deliver the item. That's your first chance to really impress that customer. So you need to make sure that if your procedures and processes are to deliver a hot cup of coffee with a protective sleeve, that every cup of coffee gets a protective sleeve. And it's not delivered upside down like a blizzard, but it's delivered properly right side up. Those are all things that you do in training, but all with the mindset of making sure that customer is getting the experience and the product at the time they expect it. Now, step number 5, I think, is the most critical of all these, and that is acclimate. That's the danger zone. If I was to sell our software to a customer, got them all set up, they agreed, it's working perfectly as we told them it would, and I drive away, and I don't call them back, and I don't check in on them, and any of their employees start to struggle, that's going to cause a ripple in their experience. Could cause a lost customer as they drift away. And it's imperative that I get back to that customer within a couple of days. How's it going? How are you doing? Can I talk to a few of your employees, make sure everybody's fine, and make sure that they are achieving what they need to achieve. Now, in a more transactional business, this is an opportunity. I've got a lifelong friend that does screen printing and embroidery. And when he packages up the box, he writes a little note, thank you. I hope the Blazers do a great job. Go Blazers, whatever the team name is, and puts it in when he sends off the uniforms. he calls, a couple of days later to make sure everything was received and sized correctly. And then he follows up towards the end of their season to see how they're doing. And sometimes he'll a congratulations t-shirt or some hats or something, but he really engages with the customer. And where do you think the Blazers go year after year after year for like decades? They go right back to him because he's engaged with them. And he's made them feel valuable, and he's invested time more than just the transaction. So please, step number 5, make sure that pick 2 customers a week, 2 customers a day, 2 customers an hour, whatever you can afford, and spend the 5 to 10 minutes reaching out and just saying, hey, I appreciate you coming in. How was that hot cup of coffee? Was it hot enough? Did you get the sleeve? Make sure, remind them it's recyclable and go about your day. It's just simple touch points that they're not expecting, and it can go a long way. Step 6 is accomplishment. This is your chance to celebrate. I'm not a big social media person. You're going to find me only on LinkedIn, but a lot of my customers use this step to celebrate the customer's accomplishment. Now, in my world, I'll get a call a week or so after we install software on a new customer, and they'll call me up and they'll say, hey, did you know it did this? Well, of course I did. We developed it and we know that it does it, but they're super excited. It's new and it's helped them. So that's an opportunity for us to potentially put that out on a YouTube video, a LinkedIn video, to celebrate them on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. That's the same thing you can do in your business. Is when you get that feedback from your customer, celebrate it. Make a big deal out of it, because that's just free publicity. And what does that do to that customer that gets that notoriety? They love it. They eat it up and they want to come back and like they're rock stars. So make sure you take advantage of those opportunities to engage. They're all there. The last 2 are adoption and advocate. Adoption is when the relationship shifts, when you notice that they're coming back more, when you're almost the single source to their needs for what you do. That's a big deal. That's where you can build VIP clubs. You can do chats and newsletters, and that's your target audience. That group right there is who you really want to get after and get their buy-in, because the next step is advocate. That's when they're sharing their experiences with people they know, love, trust, and bringing them into the circle. And that's another opportunity, again, to walk them through the experience that you've created and make sure that they're catered to and that they come back, because it's a heck of a lot easier to keep a customer when you're doing the right things than it is to lose a customer because you were doing the wrong things. So please spend a little time on this. It's well worth the effort. Okay. So from my past experience, this is basically kind of our old school customer journey that we mapped out for our typical clients. So the lady at the top left here, she signed up and for our software, contributed to some of the forums, went to YouTube, upgraded 6 months later. So she signed up, her journey, she was a free user for a bit, was engaged, and then upgraded. Then the next journey was this gentleman signed up, was a free user, told some friends, kept being a free user. There's value there, but he's not a paying customer yet. The next one asked some questions and then just faded away. So potentially she didn't get the correct amount of education. We didn't engage with her correctly, and we need to understand why, because that's happened more than once in business. And then the last one, he signed up, asked some questions, and then was on social media, followed us, and upgraded immediately. He's the type of business that could be a target customer and a completely different segment for what we do. Our initial perception was customers would sign up, love it, and then buy our product and upgrade. And once we started having more experience with the selling process and quoting and getting that feedback, it allowed us to reassess what we were doing and how we were doing it. And we started to be able to pinpoint on how we viewed lost opportunities and how we could engage and educate better. So for us, customer loyalty starts with the education process. If we misguide them, we lose that opportunity. Now, in your business, it may be just introducing them to new flavors, new textures, different durabilities of products, and let them start to choose with some education, engage, because you truly care about their experience and the outcome of their experience with your products and services. So this idea of creating a roadmap and then turning these into groups, which you can then turn into personas, is really, really powerful. Now, I don't know if any of you have used personas before, but it was something that was fairly new to me. And I'm on the Bellevue College's Tombolo Institute for Customer Experience. I'm on their advisory board. And going through the process with them, seeing the education materials that they gave to the students reminded me of how important personas are. So it may be that you have 2 or 3 different types of customers. You have maybe a residential customer, you might have a commercial customer, and you might have a customer that is completely non-categorized. There's not enough of them. They're a small amount of your activity, whether it's dollars, time, or product, but they are different than the other 2. You want to treat your residential customers different than your commercial customers. You want to treat, and you do that by asking them what it is they want from your business, what you can do to improve. And it's fascinating that there's a, I want to pull this up. Sorry for the messiness of the screen here, but I wanted to show it to you that efficiency, convenience, knowledgeable service, friendly service, these things are all at the top of what customers want. And you can see atmosphere, automation, charitability, all of those things are lower on the scale. So they're looking for a knowledgeable individual that's going to guide them to the proper products, proper services, and give them the outcome they want. And it's really important as you start to define the journey and categorize these into personas that you're always reaching to get that goal that the customer wants. It's absolutely necessary. And keeping in mind that you can always enhance that experience over time. It doesn't have to be a perfect shot right out of the chute. You can let this evolve, but some things are less important than others. So just keep that in mind, that they want knowledge. They want to get assurances from you that the experience and the products that you're going to offer them are really good. Now, one way you can do this is to create a customer first culture, and that is requiring you to understand that there are different types of customers, and you starting to pinpoint how you can reach out to those customers in your unique business way, whether that's Facebook or membership club or repeat customer and a discount. Those type of things all create that culture, but you want to make sure that you're always connecting on an emotional level with them, and training your employees to do that is probably the most important thing you can do. If it's just you or your business partner, consistency is what matters. But as your business starts to grow and you start bringing in employees, you want to make sure that even if you're not standing there, that customer gets the same education, the same level of detail that you would offer. And it's really important to do that. And how you do that is creating simple processes, simple procedures. Don't overcomplicate things, but you need to hire the right temperament, the right type of person onto your staff, and then train them the same way you wish to be trained to get the same outcome. And empowered employees are your best resource. And I think that if you keep in mind that if you document what you say and then do what you say you're going to do, you're going to find consistency in your approach. Many customers that we deal with have overcomplicated processes and procedures, and that can be too restrictive. And what you want to strive for in your customer experience is empowered employees who have the flexibility to adjust to specific customers and then celebrate that. As a side note, customer experience is one component of the goal. There's also an employee and experience component. And you may have heard the term that customers experience rarely exceeds the employee experience. That is, take care of your employees, value them, work with them to make sure that they're all working towards the goal of the customer experience, and you'll hire less, your costs will be down, and your profits will be up. Okay, so we've touched on just a few things here, and we really are only talking about the tip of the iceberg as far as customer experience and programs and plannings go. But this oftentimes, the little bit that we've covered can be the bulk of the work, and that is taking the time, getting the courage to engage with your customers and getting that feedback. I learned a long time ago that you don't set exercise goals until you know your own abilities. You don't decide you're going to go run 10 miles tomorrow. The same is true in business. You got to take it step by step. So make reasonable goals. Now, I have 4 steps here that we've talked about, and I want to recap. But I want to start with step 1C, and that is define your customer experience goals. Keep it simple. Maybe 1 or 2 things that you'd like to move the needle towards, and then start asking customers about it, and let them help you identify your competitive advantage. Listen differently, listen with intent, and see if you can't find out that you may think that your location is most important, but they think that the cup fits better in their cup holder in their truck. It's amazing what customers will tell you, and it's all good, important information, whether it's positive or negative. It's all important information. Just continue those conversations, and you can identify your competitive advantages, or verify them at least, and have better engagement with your customers. The more you do it, the easier it is. Step number 2 is map your business workflows. When business starts out, it's a bit of a scramble. It's messy. You have a spreadsheet for this, you have a form for that. And as you grow, you can't scale with that type of an approach, but you can refine your approach while you're attempting to scale and bring new employees in, maybe solidify a location or grow your website presence. So just make sure that consistency is at the forefront of your approach, so that as you grow, you can train to that consistency with processes and procedures, and you'll be in good placement, which takes us to step 3. Everything has to be defined. And it's all around that simple 1 or 2 goals that you identified early on, like, hey, we need to do better at this, or we need to be more consistent at doing something. And then get that validation, map the workflow, and write the procedures to support that. That way you always know how to deliver upon that expectation that your customer has set. And then the step number 4 is use your plan to train your employees. For some of us, that's ambitious. We won't have employees for a little bit. For others, that's not too far away. And these things need to be at the forefront, because you want to hire the people that can deliver the customer experience that your customers expect. That's the easiest way to do business, when everybody's happy. And the last point I want to bring forward is be obsessive. Like, once you go down this path, it's empowering. It's the reason you get out of bed. It can completely change your outlook from the business being hard and managing, QuickBooks and forms and spreadsheets and doing a couple posts and answering and returning phone calls, to completely changing your approach and your attitude towards your business, because you've found another thing that's exciting and fun to do. So please keep in mind that customer satisfaction is the floor, not the ceiling. And the businesses that are doing the best at this have created a customer-centric culture. It's their purpose, and they're highly profitable doing it because they're highly engaging. And the secret sauce to all this is being vulnerable, asking the questions, start grouping types of customers, stand back and look at what that customer's group needs, and then making those adjustments to your business. It's really important. Bringing employees on, empowering your employees to meet those processes and procedures, and look for creative ways to emotionally connect to that customer. It's undeniably attractive. That's the type of business I like to deal with. When I walk through the door, they know my name, or they remember what I ordered, or they remembered the phone call or the email that I sent before I came in. That's the reason you go back. So just keep that in mind, and weave it into the fabric of your business. And I guess I'd like to just end by saying, just be attentive and responsive, and remember that this isn't a one and done opportunity. You're going to take several iterations before you get to an endpoint where you feel like it can be repeatable at another location, or with another brand. And it's going to take a lot of work, but it can be very, very exciting and highly rewarding for you. So with that, just want to know if there was any questions.
Maybe. Oh.
Okay, we got to get Robin back on here.
Thanks, Brian. Does anyone have any questions? You can go ahead and okay, Melissa, sorry about that. You can unmute yourself.
Hi. Oh no, that's okay. I have my headphones in, and sometimes it messes with the audio. And anyways, hi. Thank you for that, Brian. Super, super helpful. I have a question. What would be, I guess, your number one suggestion or your number one tip to someone that is right at the very beginning of starting their business, in terms of maybe even what you've learned, the hard way? And like you said, all feedback, positive or negative, is important and is good, and I totally agree. But I'm curious what your number one maybe tip would be to someone just starting out.
Well, be fearless is probably the behavior that needs to be first and foremost. Is just be proud of what you're doing. And too many of us shy away from what we're doing. We don't want to be embarrassed or embarrass others. Within the lens of customer experience, I think defining the customer experience is as important as determining what you're going to sell and how you're going to sell it and what price. It gives you, if you could afford, a couple hours to sit down and just pencil out, when a customer does this, I want to do that. When a customer asks this, I need to grab this brochure or give them this web resource, and just think it through. You're going to be miles ahead of your competition that's starting out as well. So starting a business is hard, and it's very scary, but be unapologetic, be obsessive about what it is that you're going to do, and map out the details the best you can, and don't be afraid to evolve. None of us get it right out of the chute. And I think accepting that is also a strength.
Great, thank you. I have a friend who's I'm helping get her jewelry brand kind of up and running, and I'm helping her at her first pop-up over here in Selah, Washington this Saturday. And there's, her inventory is coming. It's supposed to be here tomorrow, and she was just very like, oh well, it's gonna be here, like it's expedited. And well, how about we have a plan B just in case, and so in that way, I very much appreciate you saying like be fearless and be obsessive, because she asked me for help, right? And so I'm trying to push her in that way, and so I'm already like thinking, okay, plan C, plan D, just in case the inventory does not get here, what are we gonna do? So I very much appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, yeah, and what you're going to do is you're still going to show up and you're still going to tell them how great the stuff is, and you can't wait to show it to them. It's life happens. You just embrace it. It's an opportunity to connect, tell people about the brand. It's an opportunity to show your knowledge. Yeah, and you're right. Plan B. That's what happens. And if Plan B fails, you go to Plan C and you figure it out.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome.
All right, we got lots of really great comments in the chat box. Brian, you'll want to check those out. Everyone's super appreciative, and it sounds like it was very useful information for the audience. So thank you again. I'll give another opportunity for people to unmute and ask questions if they have any. And if not, like I said, this is recorded, so I'll get it out to you all so you have access to it. All right, well, thank you, Brian. And do you have any last words?
I was just reading the comments here. Thank you, everybody. If you want to get more information on customer experience, the Bellevue College Tombolo Institute has a class you can take that will give you a certificate in this. I think it's fascinating. I think for my past 30 years in business, I was doing things not having words and a process to what we were doing. And when I got exposed to this coursework, they were putting words and processes to what we were already doing. It validated the efforts we were doing, and it was really, really powerful. So there are resources out there. They're available at all levels from free coursework to certificate classes. You can get masters and PhDs in this stuff now. So pursue it, understand it a little bit, and have fun with it.
And it does look like we had one more question in the chat come in. Do you have any specific advice for total cold calls? Most of my prospective clients will have not heard of my company or service before.
Cold calls are hard to do. You have to have thick skin to do it, and you have to be receptive to some failure there. We recently did, being a little transparent, we recently did 2,800 emails, or not emails, but mailers, hand-signed letters to businesses in Western Washington, and I got 2 responses. It's hard. It's hard when you put that amount of time in, and a lot hinges on it, but there's no other way to get your name out there. That's one of the touch points you have. Make the phone call, make sure you're clear on who you are and what the business is. The next time they receive that business, that'll be the second touch point, and you just keep building. And for my business, it takes 8 touch points. That's a lot, but for some businesses, it may take more. You just stay after it.
All right, well, thank you so much. I hope that everyone has a great afternoon. And again, feel free to reach out if you have questions that you'd like me to forward to Brian. You can reach out to the info@wcwb.org. And thanks again for being here. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.